All right, Jimmy, let's bring the rest of the crew back up here as we continue. I'm going to ask you, Nation, what's one habit you are working on that aligns with your natural rhythm? Whether you're a night owl or an early riser, consistency is what will make the difference. And hey, don't forget the no month is almost here, around the corner. Next week, start thinking about what you can cut out to make room for your biggest goals. And hey, if you're loving what we're doing here, I invite you to subscribe or comment on the channel and keep us rolling along here Monday to Friday. Now, hey, it's time for Center Stage. We're going to break down how to achieve success without subscribing to the early morning hype. And today we have Anthony Payne joining us here. Anthony is all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, professional entertainer who has performed worldwide from Hong Kong to Panama, specializing in connecting with people through music and creating unforgettable experiences. Anthony and I connected on the fly yesterday on LinkedIn. Never met the guy before until right now, this second. Anthony, welcome to Mornings in the Lab. What's going on, brother? Oh, I don't have Anthony here. I have Michael Kaninsky here, though. What's going on, Michael?
That's it, baby. What's up, brother? How are you?
What's going on?
Mike?
How's it going, guys?
Oh, I don't have any audio there.
I think he's on mute on the vertical.
Oh, so I
can hear him on the. There we go.
There he is.
There you go. Yeah.
How are you, pal?
I'm doing good.
As I've gotten to know you, Ken, you're like, I'm not an early morning guy. And you're like, I like to work till 1, 2 a.m., but then you get up at 7:30. So from my point of view, Michael, it's like you're burning candles at both ends. Am I wrong? Or that just works for you? And as you may have heard in our opening monologue, we're all about finding what works for you. I'm an early morning guy. Johnny's an early morning guy. Marty's an early morning guy. But you have found a lifestyle for you that you stay up late, you tackle your mornings a little bit later in the day. But Michael, you subscribe to this whole idea that you can still win your day by not getting up at 4 a.m. Am I correct?
I don't subscribe to it. I just don't see how I could get up at 4 a.m. because I'm in bed. If I can't, I just cannot get to bed before at an earliest time. Like yesterday, I was exhausted. I was out on the boat all day. I had 9 people on a boat. I got home at 10 o'clock, exhausted, and I barely passed out. And it was 11:30, 11:45. So how doing that? How do you get up at 4 in the morning? I got up early today, actually, because of this. I was like, you know what? I'm going to wake up really early today. I woke up at 6 because that's like really early because usually I'm up. And I got everything done so that I didn't have to worry about this time block to get my son to school. But it's also, I just don't know how people wake up at 4. I get why they do, but that means you're losing so much time in your evening. That means you have to go to bed at 9, right? 10 o'clock.
Yes.
You lose a lot. So now you're basically, I think that the sacrifice is, do you work more and get more done? Or do you say, I'm just going to go to bed at 10. I don't care about my day. I'm going to wake up at 4 and I have more time to get things done. So I think it's just a matter of how people operate. For me, I knew with everything I'm doing, plus on LinkedIn all day, with everything I have to do and the amount of time and the engagement, there's just no way it's possible to do it.
So I did a poor job introducing Michael, Nation. I thought Anthony Payne was sitting in the green room there. Michael is leading a new way in executive coaching. Michael joins us out of New York. He's with the House of Bricks. Adam House joins us. Michael is part of Adam's team here. He uses networking and experiential wisdom over job boards to unlock leadership potential and shape elite teams. Michael is, like I said, active with House of Bricks with Adam House and the gang there, where you can find Michael. At the best, right? There's sacrifice happens somewhere, right? It's okay. So if I'm not going to, am I spending time with my family at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, or am I going to bed? That's really what you're saying, isn't that, Michael?
It also depends on what your family's doing, and it depends on what their lifestyle is, right? So if you have significant other kids that prescribe to that, that's great. But what if they don't? Now you're like, okay, guys, I'll tell you the truth. And most people get crazy, but because of how busy our days are, my wife is a doctor. By the time she gets home and we eat dinner, I oftentimes am cooking at 8:30 at night, just cooking dinner. Yeah, just think about that. So if I'm cooking at 8:30 and by 9:30, we're like looking around, we're eating. Can you imagine being like, it was nice knowing you guys, and go to bed? So I don't see how it would happen. And honestly, I've never been somebody that woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning unless I had a half marathon to run.
Interesting. Johnny?
I got an interesting perspective here because our conversations about up early, what we haven't really talked about was there was a 7-year period of my life where I was wrestling, and mostly I was in the semi or the main event. So I wouldn't even start work. Like I wouldn't be actually getting in the ring until sometimes 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So by the time I would get back to my hotel, sometimes it might be midnight or 1. And so during that time, I wasn't really watching the actual numbers on the clock. I was just subscribing to my method, to my philosophy of I'll do more. So I would get up earlier than everyone else, and I would go to the gym and I would do my shits, but it wasn't really about a certain time. If I didn't get to bed till 2, I was going to make sure I got the sleep I needed. Boom, up and I was moving. So in that perspective, it's just literally just my schedule was just shifted based upon where my commitments were. in the life I live now, where it's not about performing or I'm more of a business person than a competitor now. I have much more control of my schedule. And this is where I choose to get up really early so I can get that jump start of the day. But I guess what I'm getting at is there's sometimes in these different careers or different paths, you got to remove the numbers and you just got to look at the philosophy of what you're doing.
Hey, Marty, question for you, brother. If you weren't doing this morning show, if you weren't training clients like you do with your fitness training, would you be an early morning person, Marty? Or would you be subscribing more to Kaninsky's, which is I'm getting up at 8, getting up at 9, I'm getting up at 7:30, getting after things at 9, more of a traditional type approach? Marty.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't get up that late if I didn't train early. Yeah, that's late for me. But if I didn't train early mornings, I probably would knock my workout out first thing in the morning, so I don't have to worry about it throughout the rest of the day, and I can focus on other things. So it's very possible that I still would get up early. I just like it. I feel like there's not a lot of distractions going on, and I can put myself in the best mental state to be productive throughout the day. That's what works for me. Just like Michael said, you got to do what works for you.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, question for interesting take on this. So, Michael, you're East Coast time. Johnny's Pacific Coast time. I'm Central Coast time. I have Central time. It's no coast here in the central part of the country. No, just nothing but flat land. Hey, Michael,
super flat.
Yeah, exactly. Michael, being on EST, do you find that you don't have to get up so early because the world subscribes to your kind of time zone? Whereas Johnny's like, okay, if I'm getting up, I have to get up early because half of the world's already going. Like when I find myself, Michael, going to the West Coast and you're like there in the afternoon, you're like, fuck, nobody's doing nothing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I see you nodding there. So I'm wondering, so I'm going to stop talking. You agree with that, don't you, Michael?
I actually realized this in the funniest way. When I was learning and then also started teaching people how to use LinkedIn, there's a kind of a very interesting mantra. And that is, no matter where you are in the world, you're posting for EST.
Yes.
No one cares if you're you're in San Diego, you're in Canada, you're in Italy. Yes. Good for you. We don't care.
Yes.
That's how, and I actually, when I was in Italy for 3 weeks this past summer, that is 6 hours ahead. And I was like, wow, this really sucks being so far ahead at EST. When I was in Hawaii a year and a half ago, I was waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning because, again, 5-hour difference. And I was like, this is great. I remember I used to run in Honolulu on the boulevard. They have a huge boulevard that runs just base. If you've ever been there, I would run in the middle of it at 4 in the morning, just 5-lane road. I'd be like, this is incredible. There's nobody here. And so you're exactly right. It has nothing to do with the fact that I don't want to wake up early. It's that you guys waking up early, you're still waking up when I'm waking up because you have to basically keep up with our New York City mindset. The stock market opens up. Everybody. That's another thing. I always wondered, what do people do with the stock market?
Yes.
Like why even, if you work in the stock market, in my opinion, if you don't live in the East Coast or Northeast time zone, get a new career. Your life is ruined because you're going to be basically waking up at 4 to catch a 7, just not waking up, but you have to catch the 7 a.m. pre-market open. If you're doing international trading, you got to wake up at 2 in the morning because they open up markets at 5 or 5, whatever the hell it is. So you basically, I'm waking up at 7 or 7:30. I bet you that, see, Marty, we're waking up at the same time, technically.
I got you. I see where you're going with that.
So here's the real question. If you're up and you start your day and I'm up and I start my day, are you really getting up ahead of me? Or are you just getting up ahead of your other compatriots who aren't prescribed to that? Because technically you and I are waking up at the same time and we have the same amount of time to get things done. I'm just live and you are playing catch up to try to be on the East Coast time because that's how everybody's mindset is. So I think the East Coast side of things changes everything.
All right, so it's funny you say, Michael, we did not talk in advance this man. I think this is the underlying situation with time. And even with how I promote this show, I'm here on Central Time Zone, but I promote this entire show about Eastern Time Zones. Because, Michael, to your point, all anybody cares about is EST. It's EST because everybody just flies over the West. And nobody cares about, everybody just flies over the Midwest. Nobody really cares about the West. It's all about, okay, so what time is it over here in New York City or in Washington or Maryland? So we're all subscribing to when the economy begins, which is on Wall Street in New York City. So fascinating. So let's continue the conversation in the deep dive, but do you need to get up early to have success? We're going to continue with Michael Kaninsky here coming up in 2 minutes. But before we do that, we got something called the Fit Tip with Christopher Martin. Jimmy, let's get Marty on stage. Let's give you guys something to think about to get yourself rolling this morning. Marty, get after it, brother.
Come on, man.
All right. We got the fitness tip for today. I got a game changer for you all, right? We're going to talk about eliminating decision-making in the morning to enhance your workouts and your workout schedule, all right? So the more choices you make, the more drained you get. So by the time it's workout time, your willpower is gone. You're not even focused. So instead of leaving it up to how you feel, I don't feel like going to the gym, we're just going to come up with a plan to automate everything for the week. Let's get into it. Pre-plan the night before. So know what outfit you're wearing. Get your gallon of water ready, or however much water you're drinking, coffee, whatever, pre-workout meal, whatever it is. Have that ready the night before, all right? Just wake up and execute. You already got that ready. Limit your workout options. So you don't go in the gym thinking, what workout should I do today? You already have a rotation. You already have a foundation. Me and Johnny talk about it all the time. Monday, chest. This is just me. Monday, chest. Tuesday, legs. Wednesday, back. Thursday, shoulders, and then maybe leg day again, or maybe I do cycling or whatever it is. If I keep that consistent schedule, it's going to automate everything and shrink how much I think, all right? And get your brain moving. Get moving before your brain starts to work. Get your body moving. Don't give yourself time to negotiate as soon as you wake up. Just start moving. Think less, act more. Automate your morning, and fitness will fall into place. And last thing before we go, the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Always remember that. That's the fitness tip for today.
But the day with Christopher Martin every single day at 9:30, 8:30 Eastern time. Yeah, we always got to work on Eastern time here for you guys, because I'm thinking Johnny and Marty, all of our friends on Eastern time, just don't want to do the math on how it gets to Central time or Pacific time, whatever that's.
Is that what it is?
That's what it is. Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys are all lazy. Me and Johnny, we just know you guys on the East are lazy. All right, so listen, we're done. We're getting in today's deep.
I love that.
And I want to talk about the structure for your day for success. And I know we talk about this often on the show, getting your water and getting out of bed in the morning, not hitting the snooze, etc., etc. But as we've been learning during center stage, it's not so much what time you start your day, whether it's 4 a.m. or whether it's 7:30, 8 a.m. like Kaninsky does. What we're learning is it's really about how you can make the most out of your energy and focus without sacrificing what matters most. Michael, you're a runner. You like to get up and get your running in, your marathons, your half marathon running. Michael, talk about how you structure your day to optimize success. So you don't get up at 4. You get your day started a little bit earlier. You got a young son who you have for school. You got a successful wife who's a doctor. Michael Kaninsky, how do you structure your day to optimize success for you, knowing it doesn't start at 4 a.m.? Michael.
You know what? I can't even say that it's optimized. I would say that it's almost like survival in a sense, because I have a 4-year-old who is basically running around doing whatever, so trying to get him to sleep and trying to wake him up. This morning, for instance, was a nightmare because I basically shifted him completely. Usually I wake up to coordinate with him. So he's getting up at 8 to get to school tonight. I'm like, all right, I usually get up at 6 o'clock, and I'll just say, you know what? I can't think straight. I'm going to go and do a 3-4 mile walk while thinking. I'm also doing probably the most difficult thing in the world. If you guys want to try something, and I'll challenge you, you want to do something, I'll switch your calendar and mine. I'll do your workouts and your 4 a.m. workouts, and you guys go on LinkedIn and post twice a day, every day for a year. Original content, no AI. And then I want you to come back in a year and tell me what you'd rather do, workout or post twice a day and then engage with the people. And honestly,
bro, I've posted a day, not LinkedIn, but I posted twice a day for probably close to a decade, man. I got that covered, bro.
It's automatic.
Wait. Posting.
I've been posting on Instagram that whole time. I've been posting on YouTube that whole time.
I'm Instagram and YouTube as well.
So there's a little difference between those two things in LinkedIn. When you post on Instagram, it's like you're posting knowledge and you let it go, right? You post on LinkedIn, you got other human beings immediately engaging with you, which means 100 comments, interactions per day. So what that does is it takes up your whole day of actually engaging with those commentaries. So it's not just the posting part. That's easy.
Oh, I got you. You got to talk to the people that are coming in. It's not just
that's
the job.
So here's the problem. You can't schedule it, because if you want to be really truly engaged on this platform, unlike any other, if stuff comes in, and I'm one of those people I'm not going to do it tomorrow, because you know what'll happen is tomorrow I'll say, screw it, I'll do it. Like today, I'm looking at the people
doing it right now. I'm with you, brother. I'm taking a piss responding to people. I'm taking a dump responding.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. I'm responding.
So that's what my calendar. That's what my calendar. I can't. There's no way to plan this, because human beings, you can't plan when they respond, right? So my day.
But what you plan is you're going to do that shit around the clock when you're awake. That's what you plan.
That's what I mean. So what that does is, because I'm doing that around the clock, all the other things now are getting stacked. Okay, I'm going to do this. Damn, now you go back to something else. So LinkedIn, to me, has actually, a year ago, I wasn't doing it like this. I was recruiting. My day was very structured. LinkedIn with human engagement and interaction, it has completely blown my schedule shreds. It's impossible to plan anything. I have people reaching out to me going, oh, that's great, let's talk. And then great, active conversation. So LinkedIn has become, while how great it is, that there's going to be, I'm telling you, there's going to be like mental health clinics for people to check themselves in because they're on LinkedIn too much.
And brother, I love
I'll be the first one.
Real quick, on that level, that's one of the things that I take pride in. I'll do the shit that you won't. I'm not talking about you personally, brother, but that's my philosophy. I'll do the shit that other people won't. And if doing what you're describing is part of that, then I make it happen. And when you make it happen long enough, it becomes automatic. And when it's automatic, you're not really thinking about it consciously. It's subconscious, and then you've got your conscious effort for everything else.
You're absolutely right. And that's the part that I think a lot of people don't want to do. Not only just that exercise, you want it to do it long enough where you, like you guys said, how do you eliminate thinking in the morning? You do it long enough where it's no longer a thought and it's just a habit. And it's a habit. And but there's another level. From a habit, it becomes not even a habit anymore. It almost becomes a natural motion. It's almost system. Like, right?
It turns into a life system.
Well, instinct, right? What above habit is instinct, right? Like I always find myself, like I'm in the shower and I always do these crazy things, and I'm in the shower, so I wouldn't, but I do these things where I'm like doing something and 3 things fly up and I catch them all. I'm like, I wish somebody was recording this. And then I'm like, but I'm in the shower. No, I don't. But like those instincts of catching random things without thinking about it. And I posted about it the other day, and you guys tell me, is it okay to just do and not think when there's an instinct, or should you always slow down, think, qualify, quantify, and then act? And so I'm thinking like some of the things we're talking about are difficult because they're not even habitual, but you want to get them like Marty and John. I know for a fact for you, working out isn't a habit. It's now an instinct. You're above the habit part. The habit part is like one way or another, it can be broken. An instinct is it's part of who you are and it just exists. And that's the part
your terminology for instinct, I think, is my terminology for a life system.
Yes.
It's a system. It's just something that's part of my day. It's who I am. It's going to happen. I have to make an effort to stop the system. The system goes on by itself. If I need a break from the system, I have to be intentional about, okay, I need to not train today because I need the rest. But in terms of stuff like staying on top of the little things like with social media or business, those things, I will never, ever stop those systems. I don't want those systems to stop because the longer they exist, the easier they become.
So then I guess the question for Kaninsky is, Michael, so you're not a 4 a.m.er, you're a 7:36, and depending on when your young boy gets up. Dudes, and this question with all the respect, so don't take it don't take it without respect. Does your day happen by accident with success, Michael, or does your day happen with structure and success, but through your way of doing it? And what I mean by that is that you get up, your day happens, it activates, and it ends. And from your point of view, you're like, yeah, that's really successful. I don't need to have this whole thing of structure. I have my non-negotiables and that's good enough for me. Am I characterizing that properly for you?
I would say yes. I wouldn't say it's an accident because I still have a calendar and my calendar is jam-packed. So I can't say that it's an accident. That's why I believe there's people I know that don't believe in calendars. For me, anything to do with me. And by the way, I do have a system. It's crazy, but it's also interesting. If my wife goes to me, hey, how's it get some Cheerios? I'm like, put it in the calendar. So every single thing that we have, like we'll be driving and my wife will like, hey, I told you about this. And I just put my phone up. I go, where? So she'll be like, I'm like, so what I've done is I've synced my personal and business calendars. So whenever she sends me a reminder of anything, it could be the dumbest thing, getting my haircut at 3:00. Okay, boom, it goes into my calendar. And now it's my work calendar.
Too.
Yeah.
And I decide if it's a maybe, a yes, or a no, depending. But that's my system. It's the calendar because so many people now are trying to get on my calendar and trying to speak to me that when I look at my calendar throughout the day, what ends up happening is my system is characterized by the things that I know I have to do, but all of the things not on the calendar, those are the things that I want to get to, but they're not like I have to get to them. And to me, that's why I wake up at 6 a.m. and go for a 3-4 mile walk because I'm like, okay, I got to think of something to write. I got to respond to things that I didn't do yesterday. And it does take up a lot of your time. LinkedIn is a monster of a thing that people think like, oh, it's social media. But if you're doing everything on it, then it becomes a massive big thing to do. It's crazy how many hours I spent doing it. And I don't think anybody understands how many hours you have to plan. So I'm telling people the same thing, put it in your calendar, 15 minutes, go engage. 2 hours later, 15 minutes, go engage, because it will take up your time. That 15 minutes turns into an hour and you're like, what the hell just happened? Because you're engaging in conversation.
And brother, when you say nobody understands, that's fucking perfect, because they're not doing what you're doing. Exactly what you're looking for. And that's exactly the fucking way. When people don't understand you, that means that you've separated yourself from it. And there's no bigger fucking compliment.
So that's the truth. And this is the kind of stats that I actually talk about on LinkedIn is the same thing, like in life, right? How many people go to the gym? Everybody talks about 1%ers. LinkedIn is not a 1%er. LinkedIn is a 0.0001%, because out of 1.1 billion, there's only 3 million active people on LinkedIn that are actually doing something about it. So out of 1 billion, just think about that. We're not even in the 1%. We're in the 0.0001%. So yes, you're absolutely right. You also prescribe yourself, like I'm dealing with people that are on different calendars, right? So I have people in China and Dubai and California, and those guys are waking up at their 7 a.m. I want to engage with Michael right now. But you know what time it is?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess it's 3 a.m. So I have to like separate, because I'm somebody that will keep going. Like I won't shut off. I'll do it till 2 a.m. I'll wake up at 6 and I'll keep doing it. So for me, I have to force myself to shut this off, because if I don't, I think that you could burn out massively.
Well, brother, I got to jump on that real quick. I so agree with you. I mean, what allows me, because I've had, you know, I hate to say rigid, but most people say that how I go about my life is pretty rigid. My schedule is what makes me. And I have these really hard stops. I'm up early. I'm up at 3 o'clock. 5:30, I crush all day long, my workout business, whatever I got to do. 5:30, that's Terry time. That's my wife. And at that point, for the most part, I shut it down. And then by 7 o'clock, the fucking phone is plugged in and turned over. The computer face is down. Nothing can penetrate me, recharging me for tomorrow morning at 3 o'clock, so I can be the best again. And if I didn't have that, I would basically I'd burn myself from both sides so quickly, I wouldn't be able to do what I do for any length of time. And I've been doing this for fucking decades.
This is great dialogue, Johnny, Chris, Mike. This is exceptional conversation, because Kaninsky, you're really opening up a can of worms around calendar, how much time we have. And I get frustrated with folks that don't grasp the value of time. And it's back to that bartender which thinks they can squeeze 30 ounces out of a 26-ounce bottle, right? And great bartenders can. But the reality is, there's only 24 hours in a day. There's no 25. And there's something's going to sacrifice along the way. So I like yourself, Michael, you take your calendar and you got to start plugging everything into it. And I would invite anybody who's struggling with their schedule, regardless if you're a 4 a.m. or a 7 a.m.er, is just do a week of planning your schedule and putting everything in it, and then look back on it and recognize how much time you actually don't have. And what I would then say is put your non-negotiables in there. So A, yourself, and then B, your family and your partner. So if you put those non-negotiables in there and say, okay, so that's the Kaninsky's perspective, right? Michael's got himself, and he's got his son, he's got his wife, and then it's like, okay, so what kind of time do I have left over for the rest of the week? And when you do that, you quickly recognize how much time you actually don't have. So I think we're going to have to come back to this and continue this conversation. But before we do that, Michael, we got to keep the show going on here, brother. How can LinkedIn Nation, how can Business Athlete Nation, how can the world find you and get a piece of Michael Kaninsky from House of Bricks? You've been on the show a few times. Great dialogue today, brother. How can folks find you, Michael?
Please don't. I'm too busy already.
More engagement, more interaction.
Oh, I love it, man.
Don't engage with me, please, because I will respond. So I would appreciate if you don't find me, go find somebody more interesting. Now I'm going to sleep until 7 instead of waking up at 4. That's awesome. Michael Kaninsky is joining us here, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. Ken, good to see you here, brother. You come back again, and let's continue this conversation. Let's
keep kicking ass, man. I just want to say, man, keep up the good work. Keep kicking ass.
Yeah, I think we'll come back and continue this conversation on calendar planning. And Michael, we come back in a couple weeks. Let's talk about planning a calendar, what it looks like, because I think people will be surprised if we did an exercise and said, hey, do this and see what it looks like. I think a lot of folks would be surprised about how much time you actually don't have. So
actually, I will tell you the opposite. You actually do have a lot of time when you do that exercise, because 100 hours, I promise you, everyone is wasting 4 hours a day. I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
4 hours.
You are absolutely right, brother. Good to see you, pal. Good to see you. All right,
Mike.
Hi, guys.